This week's parsha is Parshas Noach. In light of the current situation, my Rosh Yeshiva Rav Grumlat has said that the focus should be on Chesed, Ein Ben Adam Chavero, in addition to Teivah, obviously. And it makes sense to me because the Golos that we're in, we know was caused by Sinas Chinam, and it's only Achdus, when we're united together, that will be the tikkun to bring us to the Bayis Shlishi b'meir v'yameinu ametz Hashem. So when I thought about focusing on Chesed and the Chesed of Noach in the Teivah, I immediately thought to turn to the Sefer, the Orat Safon, the writings that were put together of ideas of the Alter of Slabodka. Because if you were in this Sefer, the Alter apparently had a major paradigm of Chesed being one of his key components, apparently, that he spoke about. That he spoke about the concept of Olam Chesed Yibana, that Hashem has built a world of Chesed, and that a person can look at the world and see the Chesed Hashem in everything, from the way that the world functions together so smoothly. He says, the Onesh we see the Chesed Hashem in Onshim, we see the Chesed Hashem in Gehenim. Everything in the world is manifestations of Hashem's Chesed. And that this was how Avraham Avinu, he saw Hashem's Chesed, and this is what brought him to recognize HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the Alter says that the greater Hakara we can have of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Chesed, the more we can learn about Chesed and what Chesed really means, not which the Alter explains. When I see somebody suffering in front of me, so I want to help them out, that's a level of Chesed. But when I'm looking to give to others, when I see people look happy and I find ways to give them things I didn't even know would have made them happy, then we have a whole different paradigm of Chesed, and that's what we learned from Hashem. Hashem created a world with so many things around us to be mesameach us, and we barely even appreciate half of them. The Alter's paradigm of the epitome of what we can see in the Chesed is the concept of Bishvili Nivra Ha'olam, the concept that the world was created for me. The way the Alter understands this Chazal. Briefly, I did give a shiur specifically on this point for those who want to look for it. But the Alter's understanding of Ishvili Nivra Olam is that Hashem created a world that's custom made for me. As far as I'm concerned, everything in this world is here for me. And so it's all here as a chesed for me. However, greatness I can achieve in understanding and in depth to see how everything is here for me. But that's the epitome of Hashem's chesed, and that a person would be able to picture what that means to create a whole world just as a chesed for me, and then take that paradigm with all the chesed he sees in the world and start applying that a little bit to how I treat my friend, how I treat my spouse, how I treat my child in terms of what I should be looking to do for them. If I reach the highest levels of chesed, it gives us a little bit of a perspective on doing chesed for others and what it's really all about. So the Alter speaks about the chesed that Noach learned how to do, what he accomplished in the Teivah. This is in his piece. He talks about in Dakos Teivah, B'Ktsei HaShleimus. He quotes the Medrash Tanchuma, Noach, Simon Beis, that Noah, the way he elaborates on it, is that Noach gave every animal what it needed. He says Noach's commandment was simply, you have to keep the animals alive. But the Chazal tell us that Noach fed every animal in its proper time. He gave it what it needed. He didn't sleep, not by day and by night. He was busy feeding the animals. That's volkeach nafshos chacham, the Medrash tells us. That he used chacham and he understood how to give every animal what it needed. And the Gemara in Sanhedrin on Tavkud Chefs tells us about the Tsar Gadol that he had in the Teivah. And there's certain animals, he didn't even know what they ate. And then it talks about a certain bird, he was cutting a pomegranate, worms fell out, now he said, now I know what it eats. There was another bird that was ignoring him. He said, don't you need food? The bird said, I see what you're going through, I didn't want to bother you. Noach was so grateful to this bird. He said, Yehi ravach d'lo tamas, may you never die, he said to this bird, which is a bird that, if it never dies, or it lives 1,000 years, then it regenerates. But it gives you an insight into how difficult this was for Noach, this constant struggle. One time he was leaped by the lion struck him, and Noach accepted the punishment. And the Alter says that this was a mum that was was more than just physical pain. It prevented him from being able to bring a carbon in the future because now he had a mum. But he accepted, he says, I wasn't good enough to the lion. He accepted that this is his achrayus. And so the Alter calls this a living Gehenna, what Noach went through in the Teivah. And Noach did it selflessly and so wholeheartedly. And I wonder, is there a mitzvah to feed animals? Is it an inyan? Do we see Gedolim becoming zookeepers? What's the idea here? He says the Alter, he learned from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem is the Zon Mefarnes Lakol, and he said, now is my job to be the Zon Mefarnes Lakol. And he did it not just to be Yaitse, he did it with his full everything and trying as much as he could to emulate Hashem's chesed. And that was it seems like that was his major avoida in the Teivah, was just emulating HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It made me think, I remember talking to Chaverim, and they're telling me that their Yom Kippur is going to be basically watching three little kids while their wife, who's in 7th month of pregnancy, is sitting resting in bed. And I'm thinking like that's a Yom Kippur? But that's emulating HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's Hashem is Zon Mefarnes Lakol. Hashem is taking care of everyone. And when I'm taking care of my children, that's emulating HaKadosh Baruch Hu. When I'm helping others, that's emulating HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's walking in the ways of Hashem. And that's how he built the whole foundation of the world. And that's everything. There's a famous mimer of Rav Chaim Volozhin. His son writes that his father used to say that man was created to help others. So I saw in the Sefer Teivah Shaduchim, Rav Gamliel Rabinovich asked his Rebbe, Rav Zundel Kreuzer, he says, he's not a Hasidic Rebbe of Chaim Volozhin, he's the Talmud of the Gra. The Gra learned 24/7. Wouldn't he say that the purpose of our life is to sit and learn Torah and connect to Hashem? And he says, Rav Zundel answers me wisely. He said, of course our purpose is not only to learn Torah. If that were true, we would have been created among the Malachim. What do you think we're doing down here? Obviously, a major part of it is to do chesed and to be a meitiv like HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's one of the things that amazed me. I recently had the flu and I was sitting reading the Moshe Feinstein biography, and the way that Moshe Meir Weiss describes Moshe, I heard him say this in person, is basically that when he wasn't able to sit and learn Be'iyun, he was carrying a Tanakh around the house. So, if his wife needed him for a second, he would answer and then go back to reading Psukim and Tanakh. If he was driving in a car, a second, nobody's talking to him, he starts saying over Mishnayos Baal Peh. That was his connection to Torah, to maximize mamish every second, always learning. At the same time, they have all these stories of him answering, being the person who people call just because they need somebody to talk to, taking trains to go to people's chasanos because he thought they would appreciate it. So much chesed, and it was like for me to wrap my head around. Are you somebody who spends their time looking to do chesed for others? Are you somebody who spends all their time trying to maximize learning? And the Teretz is both. That the great person is able to be both. That's what we are. We're a connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and we're also meitiv to others. I remember hearing a similar line from my Rebbe, Rabbi Trapper Zatzal. He said about my Rosh Yeshiva of David Harris. Obviously he was the best guy in the yeshiva. That's how he became, And at the same time, he told us about when he chapped his gadlus was when he volunteered to lead, when he took over the JEP program in yeshiva. I'm sure he did it Bein Hastarim, but he volunteered, even though he was so amol about Torah and so connected to Torah, and he found that way to do chesed, because a person needs that connection. That's what we're here for, Torah avoda, and chesed, and emulating the ways of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the Alter brings a mind-blowing medrash. The medrash is in the Alkut Tehillim, Lamed Zayin. It talks about how Avraham Avinu's kinna brought him to greatness, his good kinna that he took from Noach. That Avraham Avinu learned from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but also learned from Noach. That when it says that Avraham Avinu said to Malki Tzedek, how did you leave the Teivah? He says, the tzedakah we did there. He says, what tzedakah can you do in the Teivah? There are no aniyim in the Teivah. It's just you and your family. He says, with all the animals, we didn't sleep. We just gave them all what they needed. And Avraham Avinu made a kavachoma. He says, if one who does tzedakah with behemos chayav of, they wouldn't have left. And now they did tzedakah, now they leave. Me, if I do chesed for people, al achas kama v'kama. So then vayita eshel, that's when he started doing chesed. That was his Rebbe in chesed. He saw the gadlus of chesed for how he was meitiv to the animals. And so Mitzvah Hashem, we have to learn from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, from the ways of our forefathers, and even just seeing people around us, all the things going on right now, the manifestations of chesed, we have to expand our boundaries of what chesed is about, walk in the ways of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and Mitzvah Hashem bring Yeshua to our people. Have a wonderful Shabbos.